Hi everyone, this is Ingrid from Old Town Charm. On today's video, I'm going to be doing a hot process soap and I'm going to be using patchouli as a fragrance oil. So when I do hot process, I don't use a crock pot. Some of you have asked me, where's your crock pot? And the reason why I don't use a crock pot is because I actually melt my oils and I let my oils reach 200 degrees. And as you have known, anybody that has made soap before, cold process or hot process, when you mix your water with your sodium hydroxide, which is lye, it heats up to 195 or even higher than 200. So if you have your oils at 200, which you can see here when I'm melting it in my induction stovetop, and you pour your lye water solution immediately at 200 degrees, that's going to cause a reaction. So since both the lye water and the oils are in high temperature, I don't use a crock pot. With hot process, it's very important that you prepare ahead. Here I'm measuring my fragrance oil. I also will be measuring my sodium lactate, and I will be measuring my yogurt. I have this prepared ahead of time before I mix even my lye water solution, just because when you're doing hot process, it's very important that the room that you're in is not cold. There's no fan. It's well ventilated because, of course, you don't want to respirate the fumes of the lye water. And here's a perfect example. I let my oils cool down and it went to 183 degrees. And what happens when your oils cool down or your lye water cools down, then you might end up with kind of in between cold process and hot process. So this is why, even though 180 is pretty high still, and you can achieve hot process, the more you cool it down, the less reaction you might see, and you might not even get a hot process soap. It might just convert into like a cold process and you run into some issues. So always be prepared before you pour or mix your lye water solution or heat up your oils. Have everything ready, and then once you're ready to start, go ahead and melt your oils, your hard oils and your liquid oils. And then once it reaches your oils first, once it reaches the amount of heat that you want, which is pretty much 195 or more, you mix your lye water solution. Here I'm mixing rose kaolin clay, and I love using kaolin clay on my hot process soap and cold process too, because it's a good detoxifier and a stimulator. So it is a good gentle cleanser actually for any skin type. So I highly recommend you use kaolin clay. Plus this rose one gives it a nice color. This hot process I did not use any colorant. I used the kaolin clay just for the color, and it came out so beautiful. So with hot process, I always like to reach at least medium trace. Once I see that I can do squiggly lines on the top of the soap, I reached medium trace. And this is when I stop using the stick blender on high, and I cover it until I start seeing, the reaction. Now, this is why it's so important to have your soaps, actually your oils and your lye water at a high temperature, because with this particular soap, I don't know if it was a kaolin clay or that it was not that hot. The reaction was a little bit different from my normal hot process. And I didn't see a volcano, but I noticed that the soap was getting harder and harder and harder, but not erupting. So I mixed it, and you'll see now what happens. And I was totally in shock. But it was super high temperature. Never seen this before. And yes, those fumes were hot, very hot. But once I started mixing, I noticed that it was volcanoing, but it was volcanoing from, like you see here, bubbling up. Okay, it was volcanoing, but it didn't erupt like I normally get an eruption with other hot process. but it still went to all phases. Here it's going to be separating again, like liquid and chunks, and this is just, the triglycerides bursting, but that's normal. That's part of the hot process. And then I take my stick blender again, and I stick blend until I see another reaction, which you'll see shortly. So in another topic, while I'm mixing, have you had this issue? I've had customer that loves my soap and they love it the way I make it and they don't question it, they just want it. But then I have other customers that they love the soap, they love the fragrance, but I'll buy it if you have it in blue or in pink or swirls or this. And I've been guilty of making exactly the soap that they want, the design that they want, the fragrance that they want, and then they buy 2 bars only. How do you deal with that? Like, how I feel guilty and I still make the soap, but I feel like I'm wasting product on someone that only wants to buy 2 bars. I've done a full bar for someone that has requested, let's say, for example, a patchouli bar, like this one. They're going to buy me all 11 bars. Then yes, I will do that. But how do you handle when someone comes to you and says, I want 2 bars of this one, but I want it with white and gold and sparkles and a butterfly on the top. And I can't make that. Like, it costs money to make an individual soap for one person only. So how do you deal with that? What do you tell your customers? So back to this soap. I was in shock because the soap was going through all phases. I can see the mashed potato phase, the gravy, kind of like applesauce phase, and it did gel. But I didn't see, normally I get a lot of volcano reaction. In this one, I don't know if it was because I started using this fragrance for the first time with kaolin clay, but my volcanoes or my reactions were like this one. Very, very light. It never erupted, which I'm fine with that. I'm fine because, to be honest, sometimes I'm afraid that I'm going to get splatter and I'm going to burn my hands. And I washed my gloves, so they were still wet, so I had to use these gloves, which are not good for hot process. But it was so weird how I didn't get as much reaction. And I'm going to investigate if it was a kaolin clay or if it was the temperature or the patchouli fragrance. Which, sorry, now that I'm thinking about it, it's not the fragrance because I add the fragrance at the end. So you can see the temperature was really high. It was 205. So I covered it one more time. I waited to see if there was more reaction occurring, and the colors were changing, and I knew everything was going well. I was not worried anymore about not having the reaction. By this time it's already gelling, and I see the texture and I see how it's sticking to my spoon. So I know that you see here, I know that it's going through all phases. So I was kind of comfortable now and felt more at ease that it didn't have any reaction, but I was almost getting to reach my portion where I can say this is already soap. It's still a little bit hot, and I'm noticing that it's starting to look like Vaseline. Not quite there yet. It's sticking to my spoon. So these are indications that my batter or my mix is almost saponified and it's already becoming soap. So I cool it down a little bit more. I do a final mix, and you'll see here that the color has changed completely. The texture definitely looks like Vaseline. Super shiny, super sticky. You can see all over how it looks like Vaseline. So now I'm comfortable to add my other ingredients. Of course, I still wait until it's cooler. So I'm using patchouli from Candle Science. Sorry, it's a little bit blurry. And I've never used patchouli before. I've been getting requests to use that fragrance, so I started using it, and I was very impressed with that. Also, the rose kaolin clay, highly recommended, very good, and it's gentle in all skin, especially if you have acne. It's a really good exfoliant. I'm adding my yogurt, and I never add yogurt that's cold. I always warm it up. So again, you want to make sure that your soap is not hot. You don't want to cook a yogurt. You just want to mix it. So make sure your temperature is not that high. I love adding yogurt, Greek yogurt, because it's an extra component that I feel like it's moisturizing. It's so nice for your skin. It's really good for your skin. Sodium lactate I'm using because, again, it helps it. I think that for me, it helps in different ways. Unmolding your soap, it makes it nice and firm. And when I'm mixing hot process soap, it actually makes it a little bit thinner and easier to put on your mold. I've done hot process without sodium lactate, and I feel like my mixture gets a little bit hard, especially when it's getting cooler and cooler. But when I use sodium lactate, it's different. Now, if as you can see, I use a teaspoon, and I use only 4 teaspoons of sodium lactate. I recommend this because I just use per pound a tablespoon. Now I'm mixing the patchouli, and this hot process, I don't know what happened. I really don't know if it was a kaolin clay or what was it, but it came out so nice. So it's just like very fluid. To be honest, if I wanted to add a different color or maybe 2 batches, I would have been able to achieve like awesome swirls, because this mix was so fluid. Look how fluid. It just falls from the spoon. It was perfect. Loved it. So today is May 20th, and I live in Florida, and a lot of things started to open up. The stores started to open up. Some places, restaurants, of course, have been up, but you cannot eat in them. And I've noticed that they have tables outside that you can eat, and they're serving. And I'm still not, I don't know, I still feel that I'm not ready to go out. I don't know, I'm still concerned, but I'm actually happy to hear that things are opening up and people are starting to work again. But tell me, how do you feel? How are things in your neck of the woods, like they say? How are you able to go out to the stores? Or how do you feel about this? I'm actually blessed that I've been entertaining myself with making soaps, making candles. I started doing something new that I will be 100% showing you soon, I promise. But I've been entertaining myself and learning new things. I forgot to mention, I did 2 batches of the soap, and one of them I added glitter and one I didn't. I just wanted to make 2 variations. So this is 24 hours later, and I love the color of this rose kaolin clay. It was just a perfect like mute or rose pink. I just loved it. It was just beautiful, like that old pink. I'm loving it. Also, I wanted to show you my new baby, my new cutter. I am so excited. I love this cutter. I think it was meant to be finally for me to get this cutter. And this was my first actual cut, and I love it. I can't explain how much easier it is. Even though my first cutter was crazy, but I loved it. And my second one was better, but still not as amazing as this soap cutter. So I'm loving this. So yeah, here is a cut. This one is the one that's with glitter. I made it a little bit smaller in height, but a little bit thicker. So this one has the glitter, and I think the glitter that I used was from Mad Micas, Sparkle Me Plenty. Now this one is the one without glitter, and I made this one a little bit taller, and I still love how this color came out. It's just so beautiful. Here I want to show you why it's so important to use the sodium lactate. Look how easy, how well formed this came out. I did a hot process the other day, and I did not use the sodium lactate, and oh my god, I don't know what happened. I was so sad. I'm using that soap myself. I'm not going to throw it away, but half of the soap broke in the middle, and the other half just came out, and it was so weird how it just didn't take the form or anything. It was very creamy, and I waited 3 days to unmold it, and still it was super soft. So yeah, I'm using my sodium lactate, and I'm not going to stop using it. So yes, this one came out beautiful. I love the cut. I love the pink that the rose kaolin clay gave. This soap just came out so nice. The fragrance, yes, whoever requested this fragrance, you were right. It's amazing. I love it, and I hope that they love it too. I just can't wait for hearing their reaction. I hope they love it. But this is so beautiful. I'm going to be using kaolin clay more often. I do have other clays, and I do have other ingredients that I like to use on my hot process, but this was amazing. So I hope you like this video, and I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to show you at the end the results. So thank you so much for watching. I hope everyone is safe, and I hope that, you know, everything will just be better, and that we can learn something every single day while we're home, either from our family, our kids, our friends. But I say take this moment to learn something new, to take care of yourself, and just think about the positive things. I hope you all are well, and see you in the next video. Bye now. Here are the results.